Here, this is the effect of mineral depletion on the soil, and other factors may affect this, such as transportation of fruits, growing seasons, genetic varieties, and so on. So you can't say that these changes are all due to the depletion of the soil, but they are evidence that our food is now depleted compared to before. Here are fruits. Let's start with an orange. An orange in 1963, orange in 1997. You can see there's not much change in calcium, there's not much change in magnesium, there's not much change in phosphorus or potassium. Of course, they're putting NPK fertilizer in there, so you wouldn't expect some of those to change. But look what happened to the trace element there. Iron is the only trace element there. The amount of iron in an orange in 1997 fell by 75% compared to the amount of orange in 1963. Let's look at apples. We have a much more broad decline there, but you have 40% of the iron has disappeared, almost 40% of the magnesium, etc. Two very essential nutrients. A banana, 25% of the calcium, 55% of the iron has disappeared from that food. So the banana that we're eating today is not the same as the banana in 1963. And maybe we need to do something to make up this loss. The point is, even if someone eats a perfect healthy diet, you eat only whole foods, you go to the grocery store and you eat lots of fruits and vegetables and all that, you now have to eat 4 times as many oranges to get the same amount of iron that you did a generation ago. I don't want you to think I just picked a few foods that just happened from sampling error to have declined. We're going to look here at all the categories of food here. Here are vegetables. I'll go down these rather quickly. All these tables are available in the book. We have here in vegetables, we have carrots, potatoes, corn, and tomatoes. And you see here the same pattern over here. There's a massive decline in the mineral content of those in the last generation, in the last 30 years. Let's especially pay attention to the trace elements. There's a 28% decline in iron. And magnesium is not trace, but let's look at that too, because so many people are deficient in that. 34% decline in magnesium in carrots. Now potatoes, it's curious, there's an increase in iron in potatoes. What happens if you don't put enough, if the iron becomes depleted in the soil, the potatoes, they turn white instead of brown and nobody will buy them. So they add some iron into the soil in order so the potatoes have color again and people will then buy the potatoes. Here, potatoes, though, a 38% decline in magnesium. In corn, you can see a broad scale decline in all the minerals measured there. Broad, same thing in tomatoes, the same pattern of decline, 20 to 30% decline in the minerals. So what does that mean? You have to eat 4 potatoes instead of 3, or 4 tomatoes instead of 3 to get the same amount of minerals. The next group is green leafy vegetables, and this is the one, you know, our American mothers always say, you know, eat your greens, you know, eat your broccoli, you know, and that we know that green leafy vegetables are among the most nutritious. The process that turns the plant green draws minerals into that. There's a high magnesium and calcium in green things. And also, evolutionarily, our ancestors ate green things for 2 million years. They're really an essential part of the human diet. Unfortunately, see, if you're just growing a corn crop, and each year you only take the ears of corn out of the soil, well, you don't get fast mineral loss. But if you take a green leafy vegetable, you're taking the whole plant out. So there's a much more rapid mineral loss there. And here we start with broccoli. Broccoli is our most famously publicized calcium source in North America today. Broccoli in 1997 has less than half of the calcium it did in 1963 when we were growing up as children here. Romaine lettuce has lost 50% of its calcium. And look at this, collard greens have lost a whopping 85% of the calcium that was present in them a mere generation ago. You'd have to eat 8 times as many collard greens to get the same amount of mineral nutrition that we did before. The same pattern we find in beans, although it's not as severe. Although there, chickpeas, garbanzo beans, 30% of the calcium has disappeared in our generation. In grains, we have wheat. 36% of the calcium disappeared from wheat. 6% of the iron. Rolled oats, 12% of the magnesium disappeared. White rice, 62% of the calcium from white rice in 30 years has disappeared. going back, this is a measure of the altered mineral content in the soil translates into altered mineral content in the food. And finally, our last food group here is meat. We're now eating devalued food, but they're also feeding the animals devalued food. Right? So they mainly feed plant food to the animals. So if those plants that they're feeding the animals are minerally deficient, then the animals become minerally deficient the same way we do. So here's a measure of cows and chickens. You can look at this as a tissue sample of the minerals in their bodies. Beef, in 1963, it's lost. The cows in 1992 are minerally deficient relative to the cows in 1963. 20% of the calcium, 35% of the iron. I included some vitamins on this one because I found the statistics so shocking. Is the vitamin A disappeared from beef tissue in the last 30 years. The statistics for 1963 show at least some vitamin A in every cut and every sample of beef. And in the 1990s data shows no vitamin A in any cut of beef except the organ meats, the liver and the kidney and the brain. What we have is vitamin A deficient cows. And just as a side note, the cows are vitamin A deficiency. Vitamin A is very essential for part of the immune system at the surface along the mucous membranes. So these cows have immunodeficiency, so they now give the cows large amounts of antibiotics because they aren't feeding them enough minerals and vitamins in order to maintain their health. We have a similar pattern in chicken, including a 70% decline in the vitamin A in chicken meat over the last 30 years. So I've compiled some of this data and mixed it in. We have a nice graph here of the average mineral content in selected vegetables, what's happened to them since 1914. I had some data in my book is from 1914. I'm not sure how reliable the 1914 data is. It was a long time ago. But the 1948 data here is quite reliable. It's by a professor at Cornell University. And these two are from the United States Department of Agriculture. But you see, in this century, what has happened to the minerals in food in the United States is a radical downward curve. This is a sum of several minerals in several plants, so it's a derived statistic, but it shows the pattern of falling to about 1/8 of the level that those minerals were at the turn of the century. You see pictures of our ancestors, right? They usually look kind of robust, and they have a good jaw and a lot of character in their face and so on. And well, they were much better minerally fed than we are today. Another compiled statistic, and the mineral portion of this is quite reliable. The 1948 data, the 63 and the 94 data is quite reliable data. This is a combination of some foods, and you have declining magnesium content of those foods. And you can see, and this is a compilation of the magnesium in 4 foods. And so the index number there would be 220 milligrams, and it's fallen to 120 in about 50 years, approaching half the content that was there in that era. Now, against this, I took some magnesium deficiency diseases. These are also diseases in the medical literature that are associated with magnesium deficiency. And you can see that they're on the upswing in incidence as the magnesium is declining in the food supply. Okay, I'd like everyone to take a deep breath. You've been taking in a lot of information here. But we're coming now to the most important information. This is the most important information of the evening. In 1948, Dr. Furman Baer at Cornell University in Binghamton, New York, was studying trace elements in agricultural crops. Now, the whole science of trace elements in 1948 was new, so he was doing very cutting-edge research, agricultural research. And like any intelligent agricultural researcher, he knows that you can't say how much of a mineral is in a food because it depends on how much was in the soil. So he scoured the literature, and he took different plant samples, and he analyzed different plants, and he found a range. So he found the highest level of a trace element that was in a food sample, and the lowest that he could find in that same kind of food that was grown on another kind of soil. So he came up with a range, and here's an example. He did measurements on 3 trace elements. He did magnesium, I believe, iron, and copper. And he did them in a range of foods. And so he found here in 1948, he found that manganese, trace element manganese, you only need a small amount of it in your body, in snap beans in 100 grams of it. The highest he found was 6 milligrams of manganese, and in the lowest sample he found was 0.2 of 1 milligram.